Let me call you sweetheart. I'm in love with you.
Welcome to the B-List,
where we talk about everything we love to hate.
and everything that we hate to love.
I'm Tara,
I'm Courtney.
and welcome.
Welcome back. It's so good to see all of you. We're all decked out in our 90s, well, I should say late 80s, early 90s.
80s, 90s garb.
Yeah, so I've got enough blue eyeshadow on that I could sink the Titanic. So
I have a nice side pony and this poof bang that I was literally telling people I could not have gotten this in the 90s when it was cool, but 20 years of doing hair, so here we are, finally.
Well, I think you look great.
You look amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to find something to wear earlier that, looked 90s enough, and I said, I don't think I have anything from the 80s and 90s, and my husband had to point out that I still own clothes from the 80s and 90s, and so yes, I wore this flannel in the 90s.
This shirt is not super flattering, but I got it from my son had a Red Ribbon Week last month, and he had to have a red shirt, and he wanted the MTV shirt. So
well, that works. It's red. It's definitely red.
Coolest 9-year-old out there. So yeah.
Well, today, since there is a reason that we're decked out in the 80s and 90s garb and nice blue eyeshadow, and it's because we want to talk about one of our favorite shows from growing up. I know that I had to watch it.
Yeah.
I had to watch it every Saturday morning, and when I got home from school.
Yep, you went to school on Monday morning and like, oh my God, did you see what happened?
Did you see? And yes, you guys probably have guessed it already. It is Saved by the Bell. I even got the logo behind us. How did we like this show?
So bad.
It was really bad. It was
name
really
the
bad.
things like racist, sexist, like you name it, it's got it.
Transphobic, homophobia.
Yeah.
It was. It had it all. And I mean, really, what I noticed the most about it, because they tried to tackle some of the harder hitting subjects, but it was always misogynistic. It was always it was always about the girls. It was always about competing to get the hottest one.
Had to compete for a hot girl, and then the guys, it was just like funny shenanigans. We're just, spying on girls and recording them. We're just
That's
taking pictures of them in swimsuits and putting it on, to make a buck. Like it was crazy.
So today we're going to talk about our 10 favorites.
Yeah,
worst.
We got
the best of the worst. The ones that we love to hate.
We love to hate, yes.
Go ahead and kick it off, Tara.
All right, I'm going to kick it off, and I'm going to start with a heavy hitter, you guys. I feel like I'm on the news with this if you're on YouTube. I can't do it without my notes.
Well, we don't have a teleprompter, so...
No teleprompter, so I'm happy to actually use my notes. When you think of Saved by the Bell, and you think of... what comes to mind, obviously, is Jesse's song, which is the hard-hitting episode that deals with drug addiction. When you're addicted to over-the-counter caffeine pills.
Yeah, when I was watching this episode, I tend to remember, back in the day when I'd see it, I'd be like, oh man, Jesse's hooked on pills.
Hooked on pills is what happens,
And yeah, it could happen if it could happen to Jesse, it could happen to me.
I listened to this one podcast, and the podcaster is always talking about how, like, he really thought that, like, growing up, you would think that when you're an adult, people are just randomly throwing the cocaine at you or something, and just never really happens in real life. And he was like, I was way more prepared than I really needed to be. Right. It was never going to happen to me.
Right.
Okay, so this episode, let's not start it off. It starts off, obviously, in the Max, and they're talking about the geometry midterm. Zach says he's not worried because he's going to cheat off nerds. So.
Well, yeah. That's how I got through it.
All right, Zach. Jesse's drinking a lot of coffee right now. I feel like she and Heather Langenkamp
from Nightmare,
from Nightmare on Elm Street, they would have been friends, because how else is she supposed to study? She has to drink a lot of coffee. Because coffee makes you smarter. I have in my notes that Slater makes a sexist comment about math because apparently only men are good at it. So I know a lot of dudes who are not good at math.
I want
that on record. Randomly, the girls are like, "Oh, Jessie, like it'll be fine, girl. Let's sing." And they just randomly break into songs singing "I'm So Excited."
Well, yeah. And they, you know what, they
They just push play on a tape, and it's not the beginning of the song. It's just randomly.
It's just right in the middle of the song. And you know what? They sound like every
and
drunk
snapping.
Yeah, they sound like every drunk
I'm so excited.
Group of girls at karaoke night.
Yeah, karaoke night.
Every bad karaoke
Everyone's
night
seen this episode, so they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
And then Zach obviously gets an idea for, like, you guys should be famous. They're looking for girl groups.
Well, yeah. Absolutely.
Everyone's looking for girl groups.
And
he's going to be their manager, because who would not take a 17-year-old boy seriously when he says his friends can
Exactly.
sing?
Well,
he's going to be manager.
He's from Southern California, so...
So, cut to later on in the episode, she gets a C on her math quiz. And she's got to be prepared for the final. So,
no.
She's like, I can't sing, you guys. I have to take this seriously. And Zach has it in his head that he's going to record them. Because they're like, no, we're not going to be famous. But he's like sending Screech into the girls' room dressed as an old lady with a mop and no water. Who goes by the name Sinead O'Connor.
And they don't ever know that there's anything.
They're like, you know, someone famous is named that. And she's like, oh, well, that's my niece. I taught her everything she knows about scrubbing toilets.
Scrubbing toilets. Because I'm sure that the actual Sinead O'Connor
because they cannot tell. I say Screech Mrs. Doubtfires his way into the locker room as Sinead O'Connor.
They often go into a lot of disguises. I remember one that I'm not even going to talk about really in our episode, but there's one where Zach dresses up like a girl that's interested in Screech to like up his... Yeah. And they don't...
He's been friends with this guy since elementary school, and he doesn't
recognize his friend in drag? Come on. So anyway...
Zach tells everyone that a record producer wants to meet with them. And so then Jessie has started taking Keep Alert pills, which are and she's studying with Slater. I don't know why she's studying with Slater. He's not the smart one of the group.
No.
But he tells her not to take them. They're very...
they're habit forming.
It says here they're habit forming, Jessie. That's very dangerous.
That is dangerous.
I need them to study. And at some point, we noticed, my boyfriend noticed that there is a creepy cat with a bonnet on in the background on Jessie's couch in her bedroom.
Oh, to go back and look.
Super creepy looking. I think it's supposed to be a doll, but it has like a cat face.
Okay.
I don't know. And then cut to Jessie commiserating about what she needs to do as far as like she really wants to get into Stanford. She's having lunch with Mr. Belding at the Max.
That guy hangs out with that group of kids more than...
We were talking about this off air about how I don't even think I knew my principal.
I don't think that I ever even made eye contact with my principal until I graduated.
He could not have picked me out of a lineup. Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have known. I could go up to him to this day. Of course, I don't know if you noticed this, but there's only like 20 or 30 kids at Bayside. There's never any big group or anything. Even for the fundraisers that they're always throwing, the charity things that they're always doing, there's only like 30 kids there. So how do they raise the money that they do?
So at some point, Zach breaks it to the girls that he has recorded them without their knowledge. Mm-hmm. And that he has named them, and they are called Hot Sunday.
Hot Sunday.
Which has some kind of gross, like, sexual connotation, I'm sure.
I'm sure it does.
He's not great at naming bands.
No.
Between that and Zack Attack.
No, yeah, Zack Attack. I'm sure everybody loved big in Zack Attack.
Yeah. Like, my name is Slater. I'm more than just Zack Attack. But, yeah, so then it cuts to the scene where they are singing an original song and wearing some questionable spandex gear while they're working out and making a video. And
my brother was watching that episode with me the other day, and he's like, look at their thongs. Their butts are so flat, they're off kilter.
It really is. I mean, Kim Kardashian was a wee babe at the time, so
you wouldn't be able to see the thong. But
yes, she was not there to bring butts into what they are now. And then they have to go to rehearsal, but they can't because Jessie can't. She has to study. And Slater finds her pills in her bag.
Oh, no. She's still on them?
They argue about it being dangerous. Clearly, she's high on caffeine and needs it to finish studying for her test. So Slater starts talking to Zach about, like, he's really worried about Jessie, man. Like,
I think she's on pills, man.
And he says, Slater, she's too smart for that.
She is too smart for that.
There's no way she'd do that. And
they were way stronger than coffee, though.
They're way stronger than coffee. It's like having two coffees.
2 coffees
2 coffees
in a day?
in a day.
That would make me pee for 6 hours
and then
afterwards.
Poop probably a lot.
I don't poop.
I have once again, they freaking sing. I'm so excited. Do they not know any other songs? And Jessie is very loud and very excited about this. And she's like, you guys, come on. We can do this.
Yeah.
Woo, come on.
Like she's just done an 8 ball of Coke.
Yeah. And they're all just kind of like, okay.
All right, settle down.
Calm down, girl.
Simmer down now.
And cut to later, she's asleep and Zach has to wake her up to be like, hey, we got to go to this audition.
We got to go to your destiny.
And she's like, I just gotta take my
Where
test.
am I?
I gotta take my test. Because apparently taking a lot of caffeine, you forget you're in a time warp and you don't know what time or day it is.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, like the costumes are here. We're gonna do. And she's like, I just gotta take my test. I just gotta do this. Jessie already took your test. You gotta. And she's like, there's never any time. And she's,
Yeah,
we'll have
flips out.
She flips out and she's so excited. She's so excited. She's so scared.
She's so scared.
And then later it shows her in bed.
Yeah, that was another thing. I was like, why does she have to? It's not like she had to go to the hospital or anything.
Right. Her mom's going to take her to counseling for her addiction.
For her caffeine addiction.
I guess I'm from Haltom City, dude. Like, it's got to be what I remember kids huffing paint. Like,
I know, right?
That was the thing.
I know.
It wasn't taking caffeine pills. Okay, at the end of the episode, it said, they do the performance at the Max, because apparently it's where you do every performance or anything ever you need at the school.
You just ask them, and you can have whatever function you want at the Max.
And they replaced Jessie with Screech, because Jessie's on bed rest from too much caffeine. And so they have Screech step in and lip sync.
Curly hair. They look alike.
They lip sync it.
Yeah, they lip sync it, so why would a record producer be there to see you lip sync a song?
And then you cut to later, they're all there, and Slater and Jessie make up because he brings her $7 drugstore flowers that he got from the Walgreens.
And it's all okay.
And calls her mama, which she hates.
She hates that.
And I was like, can you guys please not say that? You're 16.
Right.
That's gross. But that's my first episode, you guys.
Yeah, that was one of the best worst ones. I think we can all agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to piggyback off of that one and talk about one from season 4. Now, if we talk about any of these seasons, I went by the Netflix season because apparently season 1 didn't count because it was supposed to be
Good Morning Miss Bliss.
Good Morning Miss Bliss that focused on Haley Mills' character as a teacher.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't even think I talk about one from that season anyway, but then it was changed to Saved by the Bell and the current
I didn't pick
cast.
any from that one because I don't count that really.
Yeah, I don't really count that one because it was really kind of focused around Miss Bliss.
Yeah.
Season 4, episode 15, if you go by the Netflix order or whatever. And this one is called No Hope with Dope.
No Hope with Dope.
No Hope with Dope. And in this one, a famous Hollywood actor is coming to Bayside. Well, actually, they don't know he's coming to Bayside. He just pulls up and then Lisa sees him and is so excited.
She's like, oh my gosh, you guys.
She's so excited.
She's so excited.
Because
she's not scared, but she's excited.
She's not scared, but she's excited. And Johnny Dakota just pulled up in a limo. And so she comes in and tells everybody, well, he comes in, he's like, hey guys, I'm a famous Hollywood actor and I'm looking to shoot a drug promo. And I saw Bayside on the side of the highway. So
and thought that one.
Let's check this school out and see if it's right, because he's going to go check out other schools.
He will.
And he's like just the coolest. Yeah. So his plan really consists of gathering up the student body and making this drug promo for him because he's so anti-drug. And then he says he's going to go check out some other schools. And Zach's like, no, you can't go to other schools because I want to meet hot chicks.
School.
And he's like, you've got to stay at this school, this promo. Or this
because Zach is nothing if not trash and an opportunist.
Right, and an opportunist. So he gets all 20 kids that go to the school or whatever, and gets them together, and then they perform like this 10-second rap about drugs and
drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad, okay? And Johnny's like, that's really cool. I'll keep it under consideration. And then Kelly walks out, and when he meets Kelly, that's all it takes to convince him to do it at Bayside. He is head over heels. This 25-year-old actor loves this 16-year-old girl. But she's even that old by this point.
In my notes somewhere I have, does this woman have beer-flavored nipples? Because everyone is so about Kelly.
Everybody loves Kelly. But, I remember
I
all
was a
the
Jessie
dudes.
fan
Well, yeah,
I
because
like Jessie.
she was the smart girl.
Smart girl. Her fashion was better. Legs for days.
She called out the misogyny.
Was a feminist.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, whenever he meets Kelly, he decides to stay. So Zach starts swiping things from Johnny and selling them. And Mr. Belding finds out, and he is not happy.
Absolutely not.
So Johnny finds out about it as well and tells Mr. Belding it's cool. And Zach reminds him a lot of himself. So, you know, it's cool.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
really want to use you and Slater in the
you and your gang
in the promo. You and your gang in the promo. So you guys are in. Oh yeah, and in the meantime, they find a joint in the bathroom and they don't know where it came from, and they
blame it on like some kid, some like meathead, like they think it's his.
That was in the bathroom before, and they're like it's his, and
He's
they
like,
confront
I
him.
don't smoke weed.
Yeah, sure you don't.
Okay.
Sure
Bubba,
you don't.
Whatever you say.
But so Johnny comes in and he sees him with this joint that they just found, and he's like, man, that's not cool, and he flushes it down the toilet because he is so anti-drug. You know, this guy, he's just the coolest, you know, and they really start looking up to him because he's so anti-drug, he's so relatable with the kids. He even sits backwards on a chair and gets a little powwow together so they can talk to
the kids about their experiences.
How bad drugs. And like one of the extras is sitting there and she's like, yeah, my brother, he did drugs and now he's in a wheelchair. And really doesn't go into the story about it. But hey, that was one story. Again, they bring up some basketball player from the time period. I don't remember which basketball player, but they bring up John Belushi too. Like he was on drugs too. And then Jessie comes out and she's like, I was on drugs too.
On pills.
I was on pills. And I knew that I was in trouble because I really hurt my friends. Then again, I'm like, on caffeine pills?
Caffeine pills? You were just really awake.
So Kelly really likes Johnny. And who wouldn't? Because he looks like the stunt double of any one of the new kids on the block.
He's got the floppy hair.
He's got
and
the floppy hair and the jacket. He's so cool. I just told you he sits backwards on a chair.
And I think in like every scene, he's wearing these boots, these very pointy boots that have like the little silver on the very tip. Silver tipped boots.
The silver tipped boots.
Like, ooh.
And so he invites the gang over to his house for a party, for a real Hollywood party. And like, they're having the time of their life. Even Screech is getting some action.
Screech is getting action. Slater is not. I know.
And yeah,
Slater cannot.
He can't catch a break at this group.
Cannot catch a break.
So anyway, they're having a good time. Screech ends up falling down and hurting himself. So they're like, I guess we got to go because Screech needs to get home. And Kelly's like, well, I'm going to stay here with Johnny.
Which brings me to a true crime point where like, it's just, if anyone listens to true crime, you know you never leave your friend at the party, ever.
Never leave your friend at the party.
Bring whoever you came with,
especially
you go home
whenever
with,
she's 16 and he's like 30 years old.
Yes, at a party with
at a Hollywood party.
Yes.
Come on now. Do these kids not have parents? I know they mention them, and every once in a while you get a glimpse of one of them.
Yeah.
But I don't think that their parents were not involved in their lives.
They're very busy.
So she stays behind, and as they're getting comfortable, one of Johnny's friends brings in a marijuana cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
And they decide to smoke it.
The devil's lettuce.
And so they end up passing it over to Kelly, and Kelly's like, I don't think I want to.
She's like,
she's so scared.
She's so scared of this marijuana
And luckily
cigarette.
Zach hadn't left yet, so he comes back in and he sees this marijuana
He's
cigarette.
Like, what
again.
is going on here?
What's going on? And she's like, we got to go, Zach. And so they leave the party, and they've totally lost respect for Johnny Dakota.
Johnny Dakota can no longer be the spokesperson for anti-drugs.
Well, they don't want to work with him anymore.
Absolutely not.
That's for sure, because it doesn't go over well, and they end up dissing him whenever they show up to the party, they show up to the promo shoot, and they're like, we can't do this because
we can't work with you.
We can't work with you because you're just a liar and you need to leave. And Mr. Belding's like, huh? Why did you kick him out?
Yep.
And then they tell him why they kicked him out. And he's so proud of them.
So proud of you guys.
He's so proud of those guys. And he's like, hang on, let me make a call to one of my famous friends and we can still shoot this promo. So,
which Johnny brought them there for the promo. Like, the school wasn't like, we need an actor to be in our promo.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, they were, I guess because they were all set up anyway. It was on Bayside's dime.
Yep. The cameraman's like, yeah, I gotta pack up. And
the camera's like, who's going to pay me now?
Yep.
And so they were like, wait, hang on a second.
Belding can pull some strings.
So Belding pulls his strings like he always does, and you'll never guess who it is.
Gee, Courtney, who is it?
That's right, Tara. It's Brandon Tartikoff.
Crickets.
Crickets. You know, the president of NBC at the time.
That's right. I was like, was Lorne Michaels busy that day?
Lorne Michaels was busy that day.
Okay.
But sadly enough, like 6 years after this episode, he passed away from lymphoma. But you know, he was alive and healthy during this guest spot, and
such a good actor. At one point, he does double thumbs up.
He does a double thumbs. And who in their right mind who was watching that show at the time cared about Brandon Tartikoff?
They're like, holy shit, that's Brian Tartikoff.
Did I say Brian or Brian? Brandon
Tartikoff.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, I was going to smoke a marijuana cigarette.
But now
I'm not.
The president of NBC says that there is no hope with dope.
So, the president of NBC and Screech are telling me not to. So.
Yeah. I do have to admit, though, the promo that they shot was very hard hitting, and it changed my life. I haven't been on drugs since. I was before.
I didn't smoke
not
weed
now.
until 20 years later. So.
It took me 20 years to smoke weed.
It took. It for sure took.
And the end.
Well, we've tackled drugs. Now I'm going to bring us into some severe cultural appropriation and racism.
Very early in the series.
Running Zach episode, which if you go by IMDb, it's season 2, episode 12. I don't know what it is on Netflix.
Running Zach, I think I wrote it down. It's season 3, episode 12.
Season 3, episode 12. Okay, so let's go with that. Opens on Zach being cheered on at the Max again after the track meet, because that's where everyone goes. There's no other restaurants in California. Lisa brings up the family tree presentation that they're all working on. They're all sitting down talking about it, and she says her great grandpa was a slave because she's the black girl on the show.
One black person
on the show,
except for that other nerdy kid. That
every once in a while you'll see a black person in the background, but it's not like in their friend group. There's never like another black person in the friend group.
It's just Lisa.
That's a lot of weight for Lisa.
I know, right?
Surrounded by a bunch of white idiots all the time.
Right. They
never really talk about how Slater's Hispanic ever. In this episode, he says that his great grandpa was a bullfighter because stereotypes. And Jessie refuses to talk about it. Says, "Well, my ancestors are dead." Which is not like her, because, you know, Jessie is, like, all about school.
She's all about school,
so apparently Zach knows nothing, of course, and he, later on, he's in his room looking through his hope chest, I guess, and finds a rando picture of an Indian. I'm only saying Indian because that's what they say on the episode. We all know they're Native Americans or indigenous people.
And I think he even calls him at one point American Indian, and I was like, oh, so close.
So close. He is blonde hair and blue-eyed, but apparently part of the indigenous culture of California. I'm not sure. Later, Lisa is giving her presentation, and she's talking about making a joke how her family calls the Underground Railroad the original Soul Train. Groovy. She's like, my great-grandpa was a conductor on the Underground Railroad. I'm like, that's not really...
It wasn't a real train.
It wasn't a real train.
It wasn't a choo-choo.
But she says conductor once or twice. I'm like, I don't think she understands what's happening. Jessie stands up there, and she's like very like, they were seamen and they were on boats, and the end. And the teacher's like, nah, girl, like you gotta like actually give your presentation. So she finally admits that her family were slave traders, and immediately asks Lisa for forgiveness. Which I'm not saying white people should not ask for forgiveness. We are horrible as a culture.
Horrible. Wait a second. That's getting into critical race theory. So
I'm just saying she immediately needs to ask Lisa for forgiveness. And also, WTF, Lisa is wearing some kicky boots. Is she a cowgirl? She's wearing some very fringy boots, but Lisa was always known for fashion.
She's always so fashionable.
She's a very fashionable lady. Zach's presentation, his first presentation, he found out he was part Native American, stands in front, paints Screech's face in a very disrespectful way, and hands him a toy tomahawk.
And I like the way that they're standing too.
They're standing.
like
If you're
this.
watching the video, it is like arms crossed.
Right, arms crossed. Very, very stereotypical.
Then the teacher pulls out some racism and calls him Tonto and says, "Me got question."
Oh my gosh. I think she also calls him Kimosabi at some point.
She calls him Kimosabi, and I am like, WTF, who is teaching this class? Calling the school board now.
This is why we need
the
CRT.
teacher gives him a phone number and sends him to a complete stranger.
Here, go hang out with this dude.
Go hang out with this stranger I know to talk about Native Americans, and then calls him Kimosabi. He goes and visits this man. His name is Henry. Apparently he lives in a garage because there's just like crap everywhere in one room. It's like got a bed and a couch and there's a fridge in the corner.
It's a studio apartment.
Does he not live
Didn't see a bathroom.
Yeah, there's no bathroom. Maybe he goes in his teepee. Ooh,
racism.
Apparently, so Zach shows him this picture that he found, and you know, all Native Americans know each other apparently. And he's like, oh yeah. Opens up a book, boom, there he is in this book. And then hands him 12 other books to read for his 3-minute presentation.
3 minutes.
3 minutes. So Belding tries to talk to the teacher to get him an extension on this presentation that he's already given, and apparently is getting a second shot at.
Mm-hmm.
No one else did.
No.
But, okay. And the teacher's like, no, we're not going to do that. So, and fast forward to Lisa, or Jessie keeps trying to make up to Lisa for her family being disgusting slave traders. She's like offering to like wash her car and like, you know, you want to go to the mall? Hop on my back. I'll take you there. I'll give you a piggyback ride to the mall.
That's enough reparation, isn't it?
That makes up for hundreds of years of racism. Zach goes back to visit Henry, to which Henry calls him Running Zach. Because that's his Native American name, because he is on the track team.
He's on the track team, hence why he needs to pass this presentation.
And my notes say this is where the racism gets extreme, because Zach says, why can't the white man and the Indians get along? And Henry says he starts comparing them to Arabs and Israelites. Or Israelis. Arabs and Israelis.
Well, everyone's a little racist.
Ooh. I had to pause it at that point. I said, are they all in the KKK? Am I watching American History X? What is happening?
Yeah. And we let that stuff slide.
We just let it slide on a Saturday morning television show.
Teaching our kids.
That kids were watching.
Because I was probably about 13 or 14 at the time.
Yes. And you're like,
somewhere
yeah,
around there.
so. And then he gives Zach a headband that he made for him. And then like the next day in class, they're doing more presentations. Screech apparently is a famous descendants are Italian lovers. And he proves that by speaking in a horrible Italian accent and hitting on Lisa in front of everyone in the class.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets
Poor
an A.
Lisa.
His teacher gives him an A for that.
Yeah. Because
he's a talking like it is.
everybody likes the little Mario Brothers.
Which was big back then.
It was huge, so
he cashed in on it. Good for him. Zach shows up in full American garb with like the headdress and everything. I don't know where he got it.
Yeah.
And then he tells the story about the Native Americans and his people and, you know, the white man coming and they're playing some weird flute music in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's like every stereotype that I'd ever seen on my dad's westerns from like 1952.
Yep, he made a really good grade on his presentation, and then he goes to call Henry to tell him that it went well.
Uh-huh.
Whoever is on the phone breaks it to this child that, oh yeah, your friend's dead.
And you know what? They never address.
They never say how, why, when. He's dead.
He just died this morning.
So Zach is too upset. He can't perform at the big sports ball running.
He just can't. This guy that he met twice.
He met him 2 times. Gave him a headband.
Gave him a headband that was probably a souvenir from a like highway.
Like there was a Trader Joe's or something.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's.
Yeah.
So yeah, he can't. He very clearly he can't.
He can't run.
You
can't run when you're sad.
Yeah, they're talking about it at the pep rally. Slater's wearing very short shorts.
Which, again, the pep rally is held at the Max.
At the Max. Kelly does a cheer in front of everyone, which is terrible and horrible. I didn't even write the cheer down. I was just so like,
yeah.
Why is everyone obsessed with this one bitch who cannot cheer to save her life?
No, and she's always in that cheerleading outfit.
She
always.
cannot cheer her way out of a paper bag.
No.
And then Zach is asleep, and Zach's nowhere to be found. They don't know what's happening. He has a dream about Henry telling him like, "Hey man, you should run."
Mm-hmm.
And he does. The end.
The end.
Very anticlimactic.
They aren't climactic by any means. They're 20 minutes long, and they have this huge problem that's solved in the last 30 seconds of they're awful.
Yep. He lost someone. He's too upset to run, and then he has a
dream about him.
He has a fever dream about this Native American dude who's like, "Hey, you should run.
You should run. Your name is Running Zach.
That's what your ancestors would have wanted." And so he says, "Okay, I will." The end.
The end.
Yep.
Well, I'll take mine all the way back to season 2 again.
Okay.
So this one starts out that they are making a student film about an invasion of aliens on Bayside. And, of course, Mr. Belding is cool with them taking up half the school for this and using the school equipment
whatever you guys need is fine.
And the film, like I said, was about an alien invasion. And Kelly is in her cheerleading outfit as per usual. And the alien is played by Screech. Because who better to do it but Screech. While they're in the middle of filming all this, though, the school camera gets broken. Bum, bum, bum. So they realize that in order to replace it, they're going to have to raise $1,200. They're always raising money. They have to raise $1,200 in this case.
Gather around, school children. Back in the day.
Back in the day when you break anything, it was always expensive, and you always
couldn't use your phone to record things.
Right. And this is one of those big old honking,
the ones that go in your
shoulder camcorder type VCR.
Well, they had one per school, probably. That was it. You couldn't have any.
Well, I'm wondering where they got the funding for a $1,200 camera for a high school. Like at my high school, we were still using textbooks that said, like, the moon was the backside of the sun.
Right.
That leeches could, suck out the demons.
Called the Civil War, that little race issue.
Right. The Civil War, that little spat. So, yeah. So, they're flipping out later, especially Jessie, because Jessie is the school president.
Obviously.
And she's going to get blamed for this
Her
somehow.
name's on this, so she's got to
Her name's on this, so she's got to make it better. But luckily, excuse me, Screech has a tabloid what was it called? The National Babbler.
National Babbler.
Which was like...
National Enquirer.
National Enquirer meets like News of the Weird.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And so they start looking through this tabloid, and they find that they could get $1,500 if they can provide a picture of an alien. And you know what? They have an alien costume that they can put Screech in that basically looked like they glued some eyeballs to his forehead, and he was just wearing like spinach all over. So it wasn't great, but you know what?
That's what aliens look like. Right?
That's pretty much what they look like. Spot on. And then they send a picture into the tabloid. And the tabloid is like, "Oh, okay, yeah, cool." And they send a reporter, and they're like, "We believe you." And the reporter says, the reporter comes out and is like, "I got to meet this alien, and I'll give you $10,000 if I can meet this alien." And of course, their heads spin.
Let's give you $10,000.
I'm going to give these teenage kids $10,000. And so they're like, "Okay, we can set you up with that." In the meantime, he goes to this reporter goes to Mr. Belding. Mm-hmm. And is like, "You have an alien in your school, and I want to meet it." And Mr. Belding's like, "Those kids. Don't believe a word they say."
Did that Belding laugh? That's the Belding laugh.
Yeah, the Belding laugh. And so then he reveals to Mr. Belding that he is not a reporter. He's actually a lieutenant in the Air Force. And so...
Everyone
knows that you don't mess with the Air Force.
You don't mess with the Air Force when you're talking about aliens.
So, and also off screen, this is an important plot point for some reason. Screech goes to get a tooth filled, and when he comes back to school, apparently he can pick up radio stations in his mouth now. So when he opens his mouth, he's got like music coming out.
Before his time, he was on Pimp My Mouth, where they put radio devices. Sounds like a porn. Pimp My Mouth.
Pimp My Mouth. 36.
That's a different show.
Different show.
So
and then you can hear like certain DJs, depending on where he's standing at the school, depends on the radio station he can pick up. So anyway, he goes into Mr. Belding's office, and the lieutenant hears the radio come out of his mouth. So it gets his wheels cranking.
Obviously,
he's like,
he's
oh,
an
this is
alien.
obviously an alien.
Yeah.
And
in
so
human form.
and he goes out to meet this alien. And like I said, they had this big scene set up where there was smoke machines, and they're like, oh, this is the time of day he shows up, and this is, oh, hear that sound? That's what it sounds like when he shows up. Because it's all pretty scientifically accurate when an alien shows up. So he shows up, and this is the part where I get real confused. He comes out in his spinach suit with his eyes glued to his forehead, and his suit's kind of falling apart and everything. And the lieutenant, he buys it at first, and then he's like, oh, wait a second. You're no alien. And they're like, you got me. But then Screech goes, okay, the jig is up. I'm tired of posing as one of you puny humans.
Yeah.
So then he goes to his real face and peels his face off. Well, kind of. They kind of do that whole off screen and then come back.
Right.
And he's got an alien face. I mean, like the classic big eyes,
We all knew
gray
that Screech
skin.
was really an alien.
And it freaks everybody out, and they run off. But what I wanted to know is, how did he peel his real face off to put that mask on, or to show that mask? And if he put that mask on, how did he do that? Like, there was some sleight of hand happening there that I didn't sleep all night after I watched this. I was thinking, how did he
seriously
do
thinking about
this?
Saved by the Bell and Screech?
How did he do that? How did he get that mask on? But, they pulled it off. So anyway, the lieutenant's like, all right, we got ourselves a real alien. So I got to take this kid back to DC, where I'm going to dissect him and study him and do all that stuff. And Zach and Screech have a sleepover. And Zach is saying, or Screech is saying his prayers like, oh, don't, if I die, please let me into heaven. And if I can get into heaven, can Zach go? And Zach, and so they get in bed, and then they have a best friends moment. Like, do you really want me to go to heaven with you? And he's like, sure, you're my best friend. The scene has no bearing on the rest of the show. It just filled 2 minutes, because I guess
a sweet moment between
best
Zach
friends,
and buddy. Yeah.
right? And either that or the episode was just running short, and they had to shove in a scene somewhere.
Like, we need more.
We need 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. You guys talk about how much you're friends.
So anyway, they go back to school the next day, and the lieutenant goes to Mr. Belding, and he's like, okay, I have to take Screech because I know for a fact he's an alien. And Mr. Belding still is, he's not he's no alien. He's weird, but he's no alien.
Yeah.
And by this point, he's already privy to the prank that they had already played.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime of all of this happening, they had given out Screech masks to all 20 or 30 of the students.
30 students of Bayside.
Yeah, where do they get their funding? I swear, where did you get in overnight, 30 rubber Screech masks? So they all start popping out of lockers in the bathroom. I wonder if
you get on eBay and find those and buy them.
I don't know. Maybe. I'll have to look after this. Maybe.
Have a Halloween party and just be Screeches.
Everybody is Screech at our Halloween party. So they all come out, and they're like, if you take Screech, you're going to have to take everybody. And then he's like, just kidding. And everybody takes off their masks, and they're like, we were really just wearing Screech masks. And the lieutenant was like, oh, that doesn't matter. I still got to take Screech back with me. And Screech is like, no, we were fooling you. Here's the rubber mask that I was using. And the lieutenant's like, well, it's not very nice of you guys to fool me. And then Mr. Belding was like, well, it's not very nice for you to pose as a reporter.
We're all liars here. Can we just
we're all liars here.
Kind of lost.
And so he says it's not very nice for you to have lied to these kids and acted like a reporter. Now go. And he leaves, and that's the end of the episode. Like, there was nothing solved.
They were going to talk to the kids about what happened here? Like, did we get the camera fixed? Is the camera fixed?
I don't think so. The camera never comes up again.
The school is out $1,200.
I don't remember
and
the camera
now they don't have a camera.
Now that I think about it, I don't think the camera. Maybe they did.
It's one of those loose ends that you don't ever.
Every episode was a loose end.
They could have called the show Loose Ends.
Loose Ends.
Again, sounds like a porn, but all right. So let's go into season 4. I guess it would be the Bayside Triangle.
The Bayside Triangle showed up as season 5, episode 17.
Season 5, episode 17
on Netflix.
Okay. The Bayside Triangle. They're all at the max. Screech is there saying he wants to win Lisa over because this is their last year of school. So he's been in love with her for 10 years and he's going to make it happen. Lisa comes in so excited. She sits down.
She's so excited.
She's so excited. Not scared.
Not scared. Just excited this time.
She's talking about how she talked to the recruiter of the Fashion Institute of Technology, or FIT, the FIT. She wants to go to the Fashion Institute, and Zach recommends doing a fashion show to impress the recruiter. I don't know why he is in charge of all these things. Why are we listening to this person? But they're like, yeah, we can do it. No big deal. We're going to throw together a fashion show real quick. You have great designs, Lisa. You're a 16-year-old child.
Where at? The Max.
The Max, yeah. Obviously, they're at the Max. Then Screech gives Lisa a gift, and it's a gigantic gold locket, which she says is beautiful. It looks like a dog tag. She bites into it and proves it's real gold. He says, yes, it's real. I got it from my dead Aunt Mabel.
Here, have this family heirloom.
And you open it up, and it's got a picture of Screech in it, of course. Later on, Screech decides they all have a job. The girls are going to sew the clothes, obviously, because of patriarchy. The boys are going to build the sets and talk to the Max and get the place all ready, and there's not a job for Screech. And he says, what if I'm the fashion commentator? Is that a job? Fashion commentator?
You mean MC?
The MC. They call it a fashion commentator.
Fashion commentator.
And they're like, yeah, let's all meet in the home ec room and we'll talk about this. Do any of them know how to sew? Have I ever seen an episode where any of them have taken home ec? Ever? Nope. But apparently they're going to start sewing. And Lisa, back at Lisa's house, Zach comes in and gets wooed by the audience. Woo! Because he's wearing one of Lisa's ensembles. And it is hideous, of course. It's a gross brown suit that has stripes on it. And it's like 90 sizes too big.
That was all about
it looks like the zoot suit thing is what it reminds me of. Like back in the day when all the pants and the jackets were too big.
Yeah.
And he like, yeah, I'm going to wear this on my date tonight. And so he has a date tonight.
He's got a date.
Lisa walks him to her door like, thanks, Lisa, blah, 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 good night. And then kisses her for no reason at all.
It just happens.
He just wants to know what that mouth do, I guess. I don't know. So the next day, Lisa's telling Jesse, like, I kissed Zach. Like, I kissed him. Like, we kissed. Like, it's like a thing that happened. And Kelly ends, like, Jesse's like, oh my gosh, you kissed Zach? Like, and then Kelly comes hopping out wearing another one of Lisa's creations. But Jesse sewed it, and Jesse's not good at sewing.
Right.
Why would we put her in charge of it? Why wouldn't she get the home ec girls to do it?
Who knows?
But it's got a sleeve that's a little crooked. And she's like, oh my God, I don't know how to
She's
work
all
this.
stuck in it.
Like, put your arm through the sleeve, girl.
Yeah.
Just put your arm through the sleeve. She's hopping. I don't know how to wear this.
Help me, my arm's going to sleep.
This isn't a cheerleader uniform. I don't know how to wear it. And
It's
they're
a one-piece.
all together talking about how she's like, oh my gosh, you guys, I kissed Zach. Jesse has also kissed Zach on an episode.
Yeah.
Kelly is the ex-girlfriend.
Kelly is like, on and off again all the time.
Oh my gosh, you like Zach?
Do you like Zach?
That is not how teenage girls go.
That's not how teenage
They would be arguing about this. It would be a fight. Whatever. I say apparently Kelly doesn't care that they've kissed. Whatever. So Zach, they're all talking about it behind the set. They're ready to go. They're getting excited about going on stage and showing off their outfits. They're all wearing robes over the outfits that have been made for them. I don't know why. And then they're like, let's do it, you guys. And she's freaking out. What if they're not that good? What if my designs aren't great? And like, Zach's like, you're amazing. You got this.
Yeah.
And so they all run out, but he keeps her behind to like talk about the kiss. Like,
we got to talk about this
at this exact moment, right before a big
right
thing.
Here. Yeah.
Don't
want to psych you out or anything, but
these are your college plans. So obviously, let's talk about this kiss. They start talking about their kiss. They kiss again, and Screech sees it. He's dressed in a tuxedo, and he's carrying flowers and a note and all that kind of stuff. He just throws it down in the trash and runs away. And then he gets up there, and he's saying terrible things.
Horrible things,
and no one stops him. They just let him keep going. And I have, let's talk fashion. So Kelly and Jesse walk out wearing something made of Belgian wool.
What is Belgian wool?
Is it better than regular wool? If we have any Belgian listeners, please tell me why your wool is better than other wool.
We're not fashionistas, so I don't know the different types of wool.
And they're both wearing matching headbands, those gigantic ones that cover your whole forehead.
Yeah. So
Slater comes
fashionable.
out wearing all brown. He's got a brown like bomber jacket on and brown
Yeah.
pants and brown boots, and he's carrying a football.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't have anything to do with fashion. Zach comes out. My notes say Zach comes out looking like some kind of asshole in a horrible jacket sweater combo and pants that have chaps sewn into them. Like there's
Oh yeah, they did. They were like suede or
like
something.
dark
Yeah.
suede chap looking things sewn over his pants, which I'm pretty sure are corduroy.
Yeah.
Corduroy pants with chaps sewn on. Lisa, you're before your time.
Yeah.
Afterwards, they talk about how they want to kill Screech because he's ruined the presentation. And then Miss Parks, who's the recruiter, says the show was unusual, but her fashion talent cannot be beat, and that she will
luckily she saw past the.
she will recommend
NC.
her to fit.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Jessie comes out of nowhere because she was digging in the trash and found the flowers in the note that Screech had for her. Like, Jessie is a trash digger. And, you know, it says something really nice. And now she realizes she's the tool because she has kissed Zach. And Zach says, I gotta go find him. And he goes off. And Screech tries to fight with him. And he throws his books on the floor. And he's like, you better fight for Lisa. And he's like, I'm not gonna fight you, man. And then he's like, you fight for her. And then rips Zach's shirt open.
Yeah.
As a teenage child,
Yeah.
at 12, 13 years old, I was like, I saw nips.
I saw Zach Morris's
Zach
nips.
Morris without a shirt on, which
Oh
was
my
few and far
gosh.
between. Normally it was like Slater that
It
you
was
saw,
always Slater with his shirt
because
on.
he had the muscles.
Yeah.
Um,
He was the big jock. He was
the big jock with that smooth, flawless skin always.
always.
Then like he says, fine, like if you really like Lisa, like I'll back off. Like and Zach is like, your friendship's too important to me. I won't even talk to Lisa anymore. It's fine. And then Lisa's like, what? And like screeches at them and like, Screech, you cannot control who I talk to. Like, you know, and Screech is kind of being a tool about it. Like, you don't own her. She's a person.
You guys were never together.
You were
She's
never
made
dating
it very clear that she
several
doesn't want to be
times.
with you.
You're being an incel and it's gross.
It's one of the running jokes in the show is
Yeah.
that she finds him disgusting.
She's not into it. And he's like, well, you know, just be good to her, Zach. And then all of a sudden he's fine with it.
And then he's fine with it.
And he's like, I really like you. I really like you too. And I have in my notes that you never see them go on a date. You never see them.
Never talked about again.
Which proves once again that Zach Morris is trash. We all know that. You can find those videos on YouTube.
Find those. Funny or
They're
Die
hilarious.
has them.
Funny or Die has them. It's hilarious.
Zach Morris is trash.
Zach Morris is trash. He was willing to give up his friendship with Screech, who he's known since toddlerhood, for a girl who he's also known since toddlerhood. And then the next episode, he's going to be all over some fat girl or a girl in a wheelchair or whatever
it is.
wrestler or something.
Yeah.
Zach got around. Whatever.
Thanks for joining us for part 1 of the B-List covers the original Saved by the Bell's worst episodes. Make sure to subscribe, follow, and turn on your notifications so that you can join us for part 2.